Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission today, well, it's pretty straightforward. We're cutting through all the noise, the headlines, and pulling together insights from all kinds of sources. That's right. We're looking at everything from really high-stakes geopolitics and fragile ceasefires.
To amazing sports stories and even some, frankly, bizarre criminal stuff.
We want to give you that context, those insights you need to feel genuinely well-informed. So today, that means looking at why ceasefires are so incredibly hard to actually make work.
We'll also dig into NATO's long game strategy.
Yep, and celebrating a huge, kind of unexpected Cricket World Cup win.
And you won't want to miss how a major museum heist, we're talking millions, was pulled off with surprisingly basic methods.
Exactly. It's not just the summary, it's those specific details that connect things. Like, why did top military brass suddenly say the Russia-Ukraine war is bogged down?
Right. Or how did essentially petty thieves manage a heist worth potentially $102 million at the Louvre, of all places? We've got those details for you.
Let's dive in. Okay, let's start where the risk feels most immediate. Those geopolitical tensions. Specifically, the U.S. brokered ceasefire between Israel and Hamas.
Right now, the most sensitive part seems to be about the handover of remains. 3 hostages were recently found in a tunnel in southern Gaza.
And getting those remains back is proving incredibly difficult.
It's a huge challenge logistically and emotionally. The overall deal, the big picture, was set 20 living hostages for almost 2,000 Palestinians held by Israel.
Okay.
But returning bodies is, well, it's separate, agonizing, and extremely sensitive. They've identified 28 bodies needing return, and so far, 17 have been handed over.
And even that slow process is hitting snags, right? Causing delays, more distrust.
Absolutely. It boils down to accusations flying back and forth. Israel says Hamas is deliberately dragging its feet. Hamas counters that, saying, look, the remains are buried under tons of rubble from destroyed buildings. Finding them is just incredibly slow and difficult work.
Makes sense.
But here's a detail that really complicates things. Forensic scientists reported something quite disturbing.
Oh, what's that?
Some of the human remains that were returned. Well, they weren't actually the Israeli captives they were supposed to be.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
Remains were returned and they weren't the right people?
That's the report. And you can imagine that just shreds trust, doesn't it?
Completely.
Yeah.
How can you negotiate when even the most basic fact, who the deceased is, seems unreliable?
Exactly. It throws a massive wrench into any movement towards a stable resolution. It's about verification, trust, at the most fundamental level.
That idea of verification and localized issues impacting the bigger picture, it brings us to the West Bank too, right? There's something specific affecting daily life there.
Yeah, it's about the harvest season, the olive picking, the date harvest. These are vital economically and culturally for Palestinians.
A tradition going back generations.
Precisely. But this year, it's under severe threat because of a documented rise in attacks by Israeli settlers against the farmers.
They're trying to get to their own land.
Exactly, preventing them from accessing their ancestral lands to harvest their crops. It's a very localized conflict, but it impacts thousands of livelihoods directly.
So we've seen how local issues, verification problems, they create huge friction. Let's zoom out now to the macro strategy, the Russia-Ukraine war, and NATO's view.
Okay. There were some really candid remarks recently from Admiral Giuseppe Cavo-Dragone. He's the chair of NATO's military committee.
Right, what was his take?
Well, he sort of looked at it from 2 angles. Operationally, on the ground, he basically said the war is bogged down.
Bogged down, that's blunt.
Very. He added, it's almost time to sit and talk because it's a waste of lives. That's the view from the military side, a grinding stalemate.
But hold on, Russia has made some slow games recently, haven't they? How does NATO square that with calling it a strategic failure for Putin, especially for his audience back home?
That's the key distinction he made. The strategic failure is geopolitical, not necessarily tactical day-to-day.
Yeah.
Dragone hammered this point. Putin's invasion failed strategically because it achieved the exact opposite of what he wanted. Instead of pushing NATO back,
Finland and Sweden joined.
Exactly. 2 historically neutral countries joined the alliance. He was clear. Russia won't get its desired security buffer, nor will it install a friendly puppet government like in Belarus.
So the expansion of NATO is the real measure of strategic failure, outweighing any land gains.
That's the assessment. Yes, the alliance is bigger and more unified.
Makes sense. So what about NATO's commitment going forward and the money needed for this bigger alliance?
The official line is unwavering. NATO will stand with Ukraine until there's a long-lasting peace. But the big news is financial.
The spending targets.
Yes, remember all the pressure, especially from the U.S., about burden sharing.
For years, yeah.
Well, NATO members have now agreed to a major hike in defense spending. The new target is 5% of GDP by 2035.
5%. Wow, that is enormous. The old target was 2, right?
Exactly. 2%, set back in 2014. And that was always controversial. Lots of members missed it consistently.
So going from a shaky 2% to a firm 5%, that's a huge signal.
It really is. It signals a definitive long-term shift. They're preparing for sustained collective security, basically.
Okay, and what about the ultimate threat, the nuclear one? Russia's been talking up new weapons like Burevestnik and Poseidon. Did the admiral seem worried?
He actually played those concerns down quite a bit. You know, Burevestnik, that nuclear-powered cruise missile, and Poseidon, the nuclear torpedo. Scary stuff, conceptually.
Definitely.
But Dragon stressed NATO is a defensive nuclear alliance. His point was they aren't threatened because NATO has its own credible deterrent. The goal is to prevent their use entirely.
Mutual deterrence keeps things stable, in theory. So if they feel strategically okay, where do they see the lingering risks?
He pointed to the eastern flank, specifically the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. If there were a future conventional invasion risk, it would likely be there.
But Article 5 would kick in.
Immediately. He confirmed that Article 5, an attack on one, is an attack on all, would be invoked, and the U.S. commitment to that remains absolutely solid.
Okay, let's shift gears completely now, away from geopolitics, towards a really groundbreaking moment in sports history. Unexpected consequences, you could say.
Yeah, this is a fantastic story. India winning their first ever Women's Cricket World Cup.
Against South Africa, in Navi Mumbai, huge deal.
Absolutely colossal. A sold-out final, 45,000 home fans going wild. India won by 52 runs.
And that puts them in elite company, right?
It does. Only Australia, England, and New Zealand had won it before. So India joins a very exclusive club.
But the story within the story is amazing. The star wasn't one of the big names, but some brought in late.
That's the magic of it. Shafali Verma. Get this. She'd only played 2 matches in the whole tournament. She was a late draft, replacing an injured player, Pratika Rawal.
Wow, talk about pressure.
Right. And she comes in and delivers her career highest score in one-day internationals. 87 runs off just 49 balls in the final.
87 off 49, that's just blistering pace.
Incredible innings, set the whole tone. And then Deepti Sharma had a brilliant all-round game, too.
Right, she anchored the middle order.
Yeah, scored a crucial 58 runs and then took 5 wickets for 39 runs with the ball. Just a stellar performance.
So India played brilliantly, but part of the story is also South Africa's mistake.
Definitely. Their fielding on the ground was actually pretty sharp most of the time, but catches, oh dear.
Dropped catches win matches, or lose them, as they say.
Exactly. They dropped 5 catches. Crucially, they dropped Verma when she was on 56. She went on to score 31 more runs after that.
Ouch.
And they dropped Deepti twice. Once on 35, once on 37. In a World Cup final, those errors, they probably cost them the game right there. Small errors, huge impact.
That theme, again, localized errors with massive consequences.
Yeah.
Which brings us perfectly to this absolutely wild crime story, the Louvre heist.
Right. Jewels worth up to $102 million. Stolen by suspects the prosecutor calls petty thieves. It sounds completely nuts.
How's that even possible?
Well, the lack of sophistication is kind of the whole point. The Paris prosecutor, Laura Bacquot, was really clear. She said this wasn't high-level organized crime.
Not the Pink Panthers or anything.
No, nothing like that. She called it a type of everyday delinquency. The 4 suspects, arrested 3 men, 1 woman, were just local people from Paris's northern suburbs, Seine-Saint-Denis.
An area known for, shall we say, less affluent circumstances.
And higher crime rates, yes.
Yeah.
2 of them even had a previous conviction together for theft back in 2015, so not exactly masterminds.
Okay, so how does everyday delinquency bypass Louvre security? What was the actual method?
It was unbelievably basic and fast. The whole thing was over in less than 7 minutes.
7 minutes.
Yeah. 2 guys literally parked a mover's lift, you know, the kind used for furniture outside the museum.
Just parked it.
Rode it up to the 2nd floor, smashed a window, took angle grinders to the display cases, grabbed the jewels, and fled on scooters driven by the other 2.
Angle grinders and scooters, that's it.
Brute force and basic tools. No complex hacking, no inside job reported so far. Just smash and grab, essentially.
And their lack of experience showed, didn't it? They left clues everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Big time. The biggest blunder. They dropped the single most valuable item they took.
No way.
Yes. Empress Eugenie's crown, gold, emeralds, diamonds, just dropped it.
Unbelievable.
They also left tools behind, a glove, and they apparently tried to set fire to the mover's truck to destroy evidence, but failed at that too.
So the police had plenty to go on.
Plenty. DNA found in the truck helped identify one of the suspects. It was just chaotic. One guy, thought to be the organizer, is still out there, along with most of the loot.
It's just incredible how these huge global stories often boil down to these really localized, almost clumsy actions. A dropped crown, a dropped cash.
Really is.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's quickly touch on a couple of recent events driven purely by nature's power.
We should, yeah. First, Afghanistan. Another powerful earthquake, 6.3 magnitude, hit the northern region near Qom.
Any damage reported this time?
Thankfully, no immediate reports of major damage or casualties, which is good news. But you have to remember the context there.
That region's been hit so hard recently.
Tragically, yes. August 2025, a 6.0 killed over 2,200 people. October 2023, a 6.3 killed over 4,000. So even without immediate damage, the risk is constant and devastating.
Such a vulnerable place. And there was also a sad incident in Italy.
Yes, very tragic. An avalanche on Vertenspitz Mountain killed 5 people, including a father and his daughter.
Oh no. What caused it?
It seems it was likely recent snowfall that hadn't properly bonded to the older ice layer underneath, creating a really unstable slab.
A hidden danger.
Exactly. And rescue services also noted something concerning. The group was climbing quite late in the afternoon. Their descent would have definitely taken them into nightfall, which adds another layer of risk.
A series of unfortunate factors. Okay, so we've covered a lot today. Let's try and pull it together.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it?
Yeah, from Shefali Verma's incredible last-minute World Cup heroics
to NATO making this huge long-term pivot to 5% defense spending.
And then this bizarre, almost comical $100 million heist by, well, local guys with angle grinders.
We've seen the sheer difficulty of identifying remains in a ceasefire, the daily struggle of farmers in the West Bank.
And the raw power of earthquakes shaking Afghanistan.
And maybe the common thread, is how often these massive outcomes in sports, crime, diplomacy hinge not on some grand master plan,
but on these really specific localized actions. Persistent effort, sometimes chaotic effort, or just small errors.
Right, that determination or lack thereof at the ground level.
So here's a final thought for you to chew on. If a $100 million heist at the Louvre can be pulled off by everyday delinquency using brute force, not genius.
And a World Cup can swing on a last-minute substitute and a few dropped catches.
Does it maybe suggest that success, even on the geopolitical stage in this crazy info-saturated world, might depend less on giant strategies from the top and more on that localized, persistent, sometimes messy human determination?
Something to think about. Go explore.